It's been almost a month since I got back from deployment, but I still feel like I'm walking around in a fog. I was gone for 6 months, long enough to expect some things to be different, but not long enough to prepare for what I found when I returned. My wife, Lisa, was supposed to be waiting for me. That's what I told myself. Instead, I found my entire world turned upside down. I pulled into the driveway late on a Thursday night. The house was quiet, too quiet, except for the muffled sound of music coming from the living room. I figured Lisa was probably up waiting for me, maybe watching TV or working on her laptop. My heart sank with a strange mixture of anticipation and dread. I'd missed her, missed everything about home, but I also had this nagging premonition that something was off. When I stepped inside, I immediately noticed the coffee table was messy. An open, half-empty bottle of wine sat next to a few scattered papers. A faint scent of perfume lingered in the air, too heavy, almost suffocating. I called out, "Lisa, you awake?" No answer. The music was louder now. I tiptoed into the living room, and that's when I saw her on the couch, half draped over my best friend, Mark. They weren't just sitting, they were in the middle of something, the kind of closeness that made my stomach knot up. Her hand was on his thigh and her head was tilted back as if she was in a world of her own. I froze. My throat went dry and every nerve in my body seemed to buzz with shock and anger. I stood there for a second, trying to process what I was seeing. My mind was racing. It didn't make sense. How could Lisa, my wife, the woman I'd trusted for years, sit there with Mark, my best friend, doing this? They looked so intimate, like they shared some secret world I was completely shut out of. I could feel my fists clenching, my palms sweating. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just backed out slowly and headed for the door, my hands trembling at my sides. The worst part wasn't just that I'd caught them. You don't expect to find that when you come home after months away. It was the sickening feeling that I'd been defending them both just days earlier. I'd told friends Mark's a good guy, Lisa's loyal, they're solid. And now I'd been blind to everything. My stomach twisted painfully like I'd swallowed a stone. I kept my eyes on the floor as I left the house, feeling the heat of their bodies still etched in my mind. Outside, the cold night air hit my face and I took a long, shaky breath. That's when I saw the evidence I hadn't noticed before: two wine glasses on the table, one with lipstick smudged on the rim, and a trail of lipstick marks leading from the couch to the dining room. My mind refused to process it all at once. I knew I'd have to confront them eventually, but for now, I just kept walking, trying to hold everything together. Driving around town, I kept thinking about the moment I'd seen her hand on his thigh. The way her head tilted back like she was drowning in some kind of pleasure I'd never even known she'd been craving. It hit me hard that I'd been defending them both, thinking they'd be faithful. What kind of fool had I been? I felt a bitter sting in my eyes, but I couldn't cry, not yet. I had no idea how to put this back together or if I wanted to. That's when I realized I needed to come up with a plan. I couldn't just let this slide. I'd spent years building a life with her, and now I had to decide what to do with this betrayal. The first step was figuring out how deep it went, how long they'd been doing this, how many lies I'd swallowed. But most of all, I wanted justice. Not some messy fight, not some shouting match. I wanted something calculated, something that would show her I wasn't going to be played for a fool. I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. I knew I had to act, but I wasn't sure what. I just knew that I wasn't going to let this go without a fight, and that somehow I was going to make sure they understood the price of their lies. The morning after, I felt like I'd been hit by a truck. My stomach was tied in knots, and my hands still shook. Whenever I thought about what I'd seen, I kept replaying that scene in my head: her hand on Mark's thigh, the look in her eyes like she was lost in some secret fantasy. It was surreal, like I'd stepped into someone else's nightmare. I sat on the edge of my bed, trying to breathe through the anger tightening my chest. I knew I couldn't let this slide. I needed to gather evidence, figure out how long this had been going on, and most importantly, plan my next move. I couldn't just confront her without proof. She'd deny everything, probably spin some kind of story. I had to be smart. Before I did anything, I called Mark's wife, Lisa's best friend, Rachel. I figured she might know something, or at least be able to tell me if she'd seen any signs. I waited until she picked up, then just blurted out, "Rachel, I need to ask you something. Did Lisa and Mark, are they seeing each other? Is there something I should know?" There was silence on the line before she finally said softly, I don't know, but I saw some messages on Mark's phone last week. Things. That didn't seem innocent. I didn't tell anyone, but I had a feeling I think they've been hiding something. My heart sank even lower. This wasn't just a one-time thing. It was ongoing. I'd been so blind, so caught up in the deployment that I missed all the signs. The late nights, the secretive phone calls, the way Lisa seemed distant lately, I just chalked it up to stress. Now I saw it differently. She'd been cheating on me with Mark right under my nose. I hung up feeling a bitter mix of betrayal and fury. My fists clenched so tightly my nails dug into my palms. I had to act, but what? I wasn't the kind to lose my temper and blow everything up. No, I needed a plan, something cold, calculated, that would make her regret ever crossing me. I decided my first move was to gather solid proof. I wanted to catch them in the act, or at least have indisputable evidence. I knew Lisa kept her phone closed, so I went through her messages and social media while she was out running errands. I was looking for anything that could confirm her affair. That's when I saw a recent photo on her Instagram, her in a hotel bed with Mark in the background, fully aware the camera was on her. They'd posted it just a day before, probably trying to hide it from me, thinking I'd be gone long enough that I wouldn't find out. My stomach dropped. That was the confirmation I needed. This wasn't some accidental slip. It was deliberate. They wanted the world to see that they didn't care who knew. I stared at the screen, feeling a cold wave wash over me. All those nights I worked late, all those times she said she was busy with work, she was with him. I knew I had to do something, but I wasn't going to storm in guns blazing. That would backfire, make her defensive, and give her an excuse to deny everything. I needed to be smarter. I started thinking about how to turn this around, how to make her regret every second she spent betraying me. I didn't want to just confront her yet. I wanted her to feel the weight of this betrayal. My mind raced. I knew I could use her own secrets against her. I had to leverage her vulnerability, her shame. That's when I remembered her social media, her Instagram, her Facebook, full of selfies and happy posts. I decided I'd create a plan to expose her gradually in a way that would hit her where it hurt most. For now, I kept quiet, playing it cool. I didn't want her to realize I knew everything. I was just biding my time, watching her patterns, waiting for the perfect moment. I felt the adrenaline surge in my veins. This wasn't just heartbreak anymore. It was about retribution. I knew I couldn't trust her again, not after this. So I started thinking about how I could make her pay for every lie, every stolen moment. I wanted her to feel as betrayed as I felt, maybe even more. Whatever I planned, it had to be precise, calculated, and most of all effective. I'd waited long enough, now it was time to strike. Over the next few days, I kept myself busy, but my mind was constantly circling back to one thing: how to make her pay. I didn't want to just catch her in a lie. I wanted to make her feel the sting of betrayal, to understand what it was like to be blindsided and humiliated. That's when I started laying out the plan. First, I had to make sure I had proof that would hold up. I downloaded everything I could find, the Instagram photos, the message exchanges, even some texts I knew she wouldn't suspect I'd seen. I wasn't planning to confront her immediately. No, I wanted a layer of evidence that was irrefutable, something I could use on my terms. One evening, I sat on the couch, phone in hand, and watched her come home from her errands. She looked different, nervous maybe, or just guilty. She avoided my eyes, humming softly as she put her bags down. I watched her, feeling that familiar tightness in my chest. It was like watching a stranger in my own house. I finally said, "Lisa, can we talk, just for a minute?" She looked at me, her face flickering with something I couldn't quite read, fear, guilt, maybe both. She hesitated before replying, "Sure. What's up?" I leaned in slowly, trying to sound calm, but inside every nerve was firing. "I need to know what's going on. I've seen some things that don't add up, and I want honesty from you. No more hiding." Her eyes flickered and she took a shaky breath. "There's nothing to say, you're overreacting." "Don't lie to me," I snapped, my voice sharper than I intended. I saw the pictures, I saw the messages, so just tell me, are you cheating on me? Her face paled and her lips trembled. You don't understand. I understand perfectly, I said, voice cold now. You've been screwing around with Mark, haven't you? She looked away, silent, but her hands were trembling. I could see the guilt written all over her face. That's when I decided enough was enough. This wasn't about yelling or fighting, this was about getting what I needed. I pulled out my phone and played the Instagram photos on the screen. This was just yesterday. Tell me, Lisa, how long has this been going on? She finally looked at me, tears welling up. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. It just happened. I was lonely and Mark was there. It was a mistake. I felt my jaw tight. A mistake. That's all you've got? You think that's a valid excuse? She looked down, voice cracking. I'm sorry, I did. Want to hurt you? I swear I didn't. I shook my head slowly. The betrayal was like a punch to the gut, worse than I'd expected, but I wasn't done, not yet. I needed her to see that I knew everything, that I wasn't the fool she thought I was. My next move was to turn her own secrets against her, to make her regret every second of this deception. I told her coldly, you think sorry is enough? You're damn right it's not. I'm going to make sure you regret this every single second. You've hurt me enough, Lisa, but I'm going to make sure you pay for it. Watch your back. She looked up at me, eyes wide with panic, realizing I meant business. I didn't raise my voice again. I just kept that icy stare, the one that told her I was done playing nice. I already knew I'd have to leave soon, but I wasn't going anywhere until I'd set my plan in motion. That night, I started putting my revenge into play. I created fake social media accounts, carefully crafted to look like some jealous admirer. I wanted her to believe she was being watched, because I was going to make her feel vulnerable, exposed, and helpless. I knew her passwords, her routines, her habits. I was going to use all that against her. My stomach was twisted with adrenaline. I could feel my fists clenching in anticipation. I didn't sleep that night either. I was too busy mapping out exactly how I'd make her see that she'd crossed a line she couldn't come back from. I'd spent years trusting her. Now, I was going to show her that betrayal comes with consequences. When the moment was right, she'd get her taste of her own medicine. And I wasn't going to stop until she knew exactly what it felt like to be blindsided, just like I had that day I walked in and saw her with Mark. The plan started coming together faster than I expected. Every day, I added a new layer of manipulation, making sure Lisa felt watched but never caught. I created a fake social media profile, one that looked like an admirer, someone who knew her, who was intrigued by her. I kept it vague, just enough to pique her curiosity but not so obvious that she'd suspect it was me. I sent her a message late one afternoon, acting as the admirer. I kept it simple. Hey, I saw you yesterday. You're even more beautiful in person. Would love to get to know you better. I didn't expect her to bite, at least not right away. But I knew the effect would be to get her on edge, to make her second-guess everything she thought she'd hidden. And it worked. The next morning, I saw her trying to hide her phone when she thought I wasn't looking. Her cheeks flushed and her eyes darted away when I entered the room. The nervousness, the guilt, they were written all over her face. That's when I knew I'd hit the nerve I needed. I kept quiet, pretending to be indifferent, but inside I was savoring her discomfort. That afternoon, she caught me looking at her and blurted, "Who is this? Some kind of joke?" I shrugged, feigning innocence. "Just a friend, don't worry about it." Her face hardened. "I don't know what you're playing at, but I'm not hiding anything. You're overthinking this." I chuckled softly. "If you say so, but I've got my suspicions, Lisa. And I'm going to make sure I find out the truth." She looked at me like I was crazy, but I saw the flicker of doubt in her eyes. She knew I'd started something that could unravel everything she'd been hiding. That night I sent her another message from the fake account. "Had a great time talking today. Maybe we could meet up sometime." I kept it vague but suggestive. It was a test, a way to see how far she'd go, how much she was willing to risk. The response came quickly. "Maybe, I'll think about it." That was all I needed. Her hesitation told me she was feeling the pressure. Good. I continued to monitor her reactions, watching her become more paranoid, more jittery. It was like watching a predator corner its prey. Every little movement she made, every glance at her phone was a sign she was unraveling. Meanwhile, I kept my composure. I acted normal around her, but inside I was boiling with rage. I wasn't just hurt, I was furious. Furious that she'd betrayed me, that she'd played me for so long. I knew I couldn't just walk away from this, not without making her feel the weight of what she'd done. The next step was more delicate. I wanted her to think I was completely in the dark, that she could get away with it. I kept feeding her these fake messages, acting like I hadn't seen anything, all the while gathering more evidence. I was building a case, one that would make her regret ever crossing that line. That evening, she finally snapped. She confronted me about the messages, asking who was messaging her. I played it cool. Just someone from work, I said, lying smoothly. Nothing to worry about. But I knew she was lying to herself. I saw the flicker of unease in her eyes. She knew I was onto her in some way, even if she didn't realize I'd been orchestrating everything all along. That night, as I lay in bed, my mind was racing. I wasn't sleeping, couldn't sleep. My body still carried that heavy tension, the kind that comes from knowing you're about to finally settle the score. I knew I was close to the moment where I would reveal everything, when she'd finally understand just how much I'd uncovered, and I was going to do it on my terms. I wanted her to feel vulnerable, exposed, and helpless. I'd spent so many years trusting her, believing in her loyalty. Now I was going to show her what betrayal really looked like, without a single punch thrown, but with enough to make her regret every lie. I had her cornered, and the game was about to end. The days blurred together, each one building more tension. I watched her carefully, noticing every nervous tick, every quick glance at her phone. She was cracking under the pressure, and I knew it was only a matter of time before she slipped up completely. My plan was working. She was vulnerable, and I was ready to push her over the edge. One evening, I decided it was time. I waited until she was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, her hands trembling slightly. I had the fake social media profile open on my phone, and I approached her slowly, trying to keep my voice even. "Lisa," I said softly, "we need to talk. You've been acting weird lately, and I think you know what I'm talking about." She froze, her eyes darting, trying to hide her nerves. "What are you talking about?" I took a deep breath, then pulled out my phone, showing her the recent messages from the fake account. "Who is this?" I asked quietly. "Because I know you've been talking to someone who's been trying to get close." Her face went white. She reached for her phone, but I was faster. I held it just out of reach, watching her squirm. "That's not possible," she whispered. "I don't know what you think you found." "Oh, I think you do," I said, voice low. "You've been sneaking around, lying to me. I've got evidence, screenshots, messages, the works. You've been cheating, Lisa." She looked at me with a mixture of guilt and anger. "You don't understand. We were just what?" I cut her off sharply. "Just having some fun, or is there more? How long has this been going on?" She swallowed hard, her eyes brimming with tears. "It's not what it looks like. I didn't mean for you to find out this way." I stepped closer, my face inches from hers. "You think you can just lie your way out of this? I've had enough. You betrayed me, lied to face, and now you're trying to pretend it's nothing." Her shoulders trembled. "I was lonely. I made a mistake." I felt my grip tighten around the phone. "A mistake? That's all you've got?" "No, Lisa, I'm done pretending. I want to know how long this has been going on. I want every detail." She looked down, voice trembling. "Since last month, before you deployed. I didn't want to hurt you, but I was so lonely." That was the final nail. I'd waited too long, allowed her to think she could get away with it. Now I realized I couldn't just walk away. I had to make her understand the full extent of the damage she'd done, and that I'd be the one to punish her. I took a breath, trying to steady myself. "You lied, you cheated, and you almost destroyed everything we built, but I'm not done yet. You're going to wish you never crossed me." She looked at me with tear-streaked eyes, trembling. "Please." "No," I said firmly. "You don't get to ask for forgiveness this time. You made your choice. And now, I'm going to make sure you regret it for the rest of your life." That night I made my final preparations. I knew what I had to do: expose her publicly, make her feel vulnerable, humiliated. She thought she'd gotten away with it, but I was about to take that illusion from her. Bitter though it was, I wanted her to understand that betrayal has consequences. I was ready to show her that I wasn't just some fool to be played. I'd had enough. This was my way of reclaiming control. And I knew as I sat in the dark that once I made my move, there'd be no going back. She could run, hide, deny, but I had everything I needed. and soon she'd see what happens when you cross the line with the wrong person. That evening, I decided it was time to finalize everything. I'd spent days orchestrating this moment, carefully laying the groundwork to make her feel the full weight of her betrayal. My nerves buzzed with anticipation, mixed with a sense of icy resolve. I had all the evidence I needed: screenshots, messages, the Instagram photos. It was perfect. All I had to do now was execute. I waited until she was in the bedroom, sitting on the bed, scrolling through her phone, unaware of what was coming. I took a deep breath and approached her quietly. "Lisa," I said softly, almost gently, but my voice carried the weight of everything I was feeling. She looked up, surprised to see me so calm yet serious. "I've seen enough," I continued. "I know what you've been doing. You've been lying, sneaking around, cheating on me. Mark the messages, the photos. You're not going to deny it anymore." Her face drained of color, her eyes blinking rapidly. I I didn't mean for you to find out like this." I placed my phone on the bedside table, screen glowing with the proof I'd collected. "You're damn right you didn't, because if you had, you'd have been honest from the start." I paused, feeling my jaw tighten. "But now it's over. You've crossed a line I can't come back from." Her voice quivered. "Please don't do this. I was weak. I made a mistake." "Yeah, a mistake." I cut her off sharply. "You made this mistake, and now I'm going to make sure you regret it for the rest of your life." I took a step closer, feeling the cold fury simmering just beneath the surface. "You think you can lie your way out of this, that I won't find out the damage you've done?" I pointed to the evidence on my phone. "All these photos, the messages, this isn't just a one-time thing. You were unfaithful for weeks, maybe longer." Her shoulders shook, tears streaming down her face. "I never wanted to hurt you. I was lonely, desperate." "That's bullshit," I snapped. "You were just looking out for yourself. You didn't care how much you hurt me." She looked at me with pleading eyes. "Please, I want to fix this. I love you." I shook my head slowly. "Love? You clearly don't know what that means anymore. You betrayed everything we built, and I'm done pretending I don't see it." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small envelope. Inside was a set of keys to the house. I looked at her one last time, feeling the cold finality in my voice. "This is your last chance. You can stay or go. But I'm taking back what's mine." Her face crumpled and she reached out, desperate. Do this, please." I stepped back, my fists clenched. "Goodbye, Lisa." Without another word, I turned and handed her the keys. She hesitated a moment, then took them, knowing she'd just lost everything. I walked out the door, feeling a strange emptiness inside, but also a strange sense of relief, like I'd finally cut out the poison. As I drove away, I looked back at the house, knowing I'd never step foot in it again. I'd lost my wife, my best friend, and trust that I'd spent years building. But I also gained clarity. Sometimes betrayal is the harsh wake-up call you need to take control of your life again. The lesson I learned: trust is fragile. It only takes one betrayal to shatter everything. But revenge is about reclaiming your dignity, about showing the world that you're not a fool. And in the end, that's what saved me.